2-hour living zone across the Korean Peninsula. Seoul-Pyongyang-Beijing 5 hours. Seoul-Pyongyang-Moscow 30-40 hours. 35. North Korea Railway and Road Outlook. Creating the miracle on the Taedong River. North Korea's Workers' Party can do a market economy. If North Korea enters a market economy and opens its doors to the world following denuclearization, its railways and roads will undergo a revolutionary transformation. The KTX high-speed rail line will be extended to the Seoul-Kaesong-Haeju-Pyongyang-Sinuiju-Beijing route and connected to the Seoul-Wonsan-Hamhung-Chongjin-Rason-TSR railway. The two major longitudinal railway and road axes, the Seoul-Sinuiju section along the West Coast Gyeongui axis, and the Seoul-Rason section along the East Coast Gyeongwon-East Coast axis, will be modernized, and inter-Korean transversal networks connecting Pyongyang-Nampo, Pyongyang-Wonsan, and Wonsan-Chongjin will be established. New inter-Korean expressways will be constructed along the Gyeongui and Gyeongwon axes, and a Northeast Asian multimodal logistics railway network connecting Rason, the TSR, and Europe will be incorporated. As of 2023, figures indicate that North Korea's total railway length stands at 325 kilometers, which is 1.3 times longer than South Korea's 209 kilometers. However, this figure creates a complete misconception. 98% of the tracks are single-track, and according to the 2018 Inter-Korean Joint Survey Team, it was confirmed that the operating speed is still around 30 km per hour, which is not significantly different from the 2007 survey. Looking at the modal split, railways account for 86% of the total, while roads and maritime transport account for approximately 12% and 2%, respectively, indicating a very high proportion of railways in the transportation infrastructure. The operational concept of North Korea's land transportation network is known as Jucheol Jongdo, where roads handle short-distance local transport, while railways are dedicated to long-distance bulk cargo transport and serving as connecting transportation. The 80% electrification rate is the result of a unique historical choice. Although electric traction was adopted due to a shortage of oil, the unstable power supply itself makes electrification a weakness. The system is structured so that if the electricity is cut off, the entire train comes to a halt. As of 2021, the total length of roads in North Korea is 26,203 km, which is 23.1% of South Korea's 113,405 kilometers. Expressways amount to 658 km, representing 13.5% of South Korea's 4,086 kilometers. In terms of quality, the paving rate of roads excluding expressways is less than 10%, and most arterial roads are 2 lanes or less in both directions. The road surface has severe cracks and low flatness, so the average driving speed is limited to 50 km per hour or less. Roads serve as a supplementary means of transportation to railways, connecting railway stations with surrounding areas, and were constructed primarily for short-distance transport within 150 to 200 kilometers. The northern region consists of mountainous terrain, and the Nangnim Mountains, which are higher in the east and lower in the west, run north-south through the central area, resulting in a scarcity of east-west connecting roads. North Korea does not assign numbers to its roads and maintains a separate management system ranging from Grade 1 to Grade 6. It is known that Grade 5 and 6 roads are often difficult to regard as roads in South Korea. North Korea and Russia have completed the connection of the deck for a new dedicated automobile bridge spanning the Tumen River and are preparing for its opening in June 2026. The bridge body is designed to be 850 meters to 1 kilometer, long and 7 m wide with 2 lanes in each direction. The total length, including the access road sections, reaches 4.7 kilometers. Let us look at the blueprint prepared in accordance with South Korea's plan for developing North Korea's transportation infrastructure. South Korea has already prepared numerous studies and plans for the development of North Korea's transportation infrastructure on the premise of denuclearization. This is the Trans-Korean Railway TKR initiative, a groundbreaking ceremony for a project to connect and modernize the railways and roads of South and North Korea was held on December 26, 2018, at Panmun Station in Kaesong, North Korea. The concept proposed that connecting the KTX high-speed rail to China's high-speed rail via the Gyeongui line would allow travel between Seoul and Beijing to be completed in just 5 hours, effectively linking them into a single daily commuting zone. If the Donghae line is properly completed, the connection project with the Trans-Siberian Railway TSR will proceed without issues, as Tumen River Station in Rason, North Korea, and Kasan Station in Russia are already linked. Furthermore, it could also connect to the South Korea-North Korea-Russia gas pipeline project that Russia has persistently proposed. In 2024, a situation occurred in which North Korea blew up the inter-Korean connecting roads and railways of the Gyeongui and Donghae lines, leaving them currently severed. The denuclearization agreement includes the reconstruction of these blown-up connection points. The core of the North Korean Land and Transport Development Plan, prepared by the Korea Institute of Land and Housing, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, and the Korea Transport Institute, is as follows. First, the modernization of the two major longitudinal railway and road axes, the Gyeongui axis, the West Coast Seoul-Sinuiju section, and the Gyeongwon-East Coast axis, the East Coast Seoul-Rason section. Second, the establishment of a trans-south network connecting Pyongyang to Nampo, Pyongyang to Wonsan, and Wonsan to Chongjin. Third, the new construction of the Gyeongui and Gyeongwon axes of inter-Korean expressways. Fourth, the incorporation of a Northeast Asian multimodal logistics railway network connecting Rason, the Trans-Siberian Railway TSR, and Europe. The total investment required for the comprehensive modernization of North Korea's transportation infrastructure amounts to 180 to 260 trillion won, comprising approximately 80 to 120 trillion won for railway modernization, specifically the complete upgrade, double tracking, and high speeding of 5300 km, approximately 60 to 80 trillion won for the construction of 4,000 km of new expressways, approximately 20 to 30 trillion won for the paving and expansion of 20,000 km of general national roads, and approximately 20 to 30 trillion won for the construction of new bridges and tunnels. This scale is to be executed in stages over 20 to 30 years, requiring an annual investment of 7 to 13 trillion won. This level of investment is comparable to South Korea's SOC investment during its high-growth period from the 1970s to the 1990s, making complex financing through the Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, the ADB, the World Bank, and Public-Private Partnerships (PPP) inevitable. This is a roadmap for the development of North Korea's roads and railways after denuclearization. The short-term strategy, 5 years after denuclearization, is immediate reopening and emergency repairs. 1. Immediately reopen the inter-Korean connections of the Gyeongui and Donghae lines. The first and most symbolic project to be pursued immediately after the denuclearization agreement is the reconstruction of the connecting sections of the Gyeongui and Donghae lines that North Korea blew up in 2024. Technically, the reconstruction of the 10-20-kilometer connecting sections can be completed within 1-2 years. The reopening of the Gyeongui line will enable the immediate resumption of freight train operations between Seoul and Kaesong, while the reopening of the Donghae line will allow for the operation of tourist trains between Gangneung and Wonsan. While connecting the KTX high-speed rail with the Gyeongui line to create a 5-hour daily travel zone between Seoul and Beijing is a long-term vision that will change the paradigm of logistics and tourism in Northeast Asia. In the short term, resuming only freight and passenger operations utilizing existing tracks will yield sufficient economic benefits. 2. Emergency paving of arterial roads between major cities. Priority will be given to paving arterial roads connecting special economic zones and major industrial hubs. Top priority will be given to paving 4 sections, the 42 kilometers existing expressway between Pyongyang and Nampo, the 196-kilometer Youth Hero Road between Pyongyang and Wonsan, the 160-kilometer section between Kaesong and Pyongyang, and the 70-kilometer section between Rason and Chongjin. Road paving is the most immediate infrastructure investment that can yield results in the shortest time and at a low cost compared to railway upgrades. South Korean construction companies, such as Hyundai Engineering and Construction, Daelim Industrial, and GS Engineering and Construction, can implement asphalt concrete paving technology and equipment within 6 months to 1 year. 3. Emergency repairs to key railway sections. Emergency repairs will be carried out in parallel to increase operational efficiency prior to full reconstruction. Key elements include the sequential replacement of sleepers with concrete sleepers, the replacement of rails with KS standard rails, overhead line repairs, and the promotion of signal and communication systems to be compatible with South Korean systems. We will prioritize repairs on the Pyongyang line Pyongyang-Rason, 780 km, and the Gyeongui line Pyongyang-Sinuiju, 225 kilometers. 4. We will utilize logistics via the North Korea-Russia Tumen River Bridge. The Tumen River Automobile Bridge connecting North Korea and Russia, scheduled to open in June 2026, is a new logistics channel that adds high-capacity road logistics to existing railway routes. Immediately after denuclearization, this bridge will be actively utilized as a logistics corridor for the Rason Special Economic Zone toward Russia. 5. Funding will be itemized as a core component of the economic compensation package for denuclearization. Support for transportation infrastructure will be explicitly included in the Phase 1 compensation package for denuclearization. The costs for reconnecting the Gyeongui and Gyeonghae lines will be covered by the Korea Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund, emergency road paving by ADB emergency infrastructure loans, and repairs to key railway sections by World Bank development assistance. The midterm strategy 5-15 years focuses on completing trans-Korean infrastructure and connecting Northeast Asia. 6. The Trans-Korean Railway TKR will be practically completed through the high-speed upgrade of the two major railways, the Gyeongui and Gyeonghae lines. The 450-kilometer section of the Gyeongui line between Seoul and Sinuiju will be completely upgraded to a high-speed standard of 250 km per hour. Since high-speed upgrades are impossible on most existing lines due to poor alignment and steep gradients, it is highly likely that the entire existing line will be relocated and newly constructed, similar to the double-track electrification of Korea's Jungang line. Construction will begin first on the approximately 225-kilometer section of new high-speed railway tracks between Pyongyang and Sinuiju, followed by the connection of the Kaesong-Pyongyang section. For the Gyeonghae line between Gangneung and Rason, the approximately 900-kilometer section will be upgraded by constructing new tracks along the Wonsan-Hamhung-Chongjin-Rason route. Once the Gyeongui line is connected to China's high-speed railway, a daily commuting zone will become possible, allowing travel between Seoul and Beijing in just 5 hours. If this is realized, the Korean Peninsula will be integrated into an economic space connected to the Eurasian continent. 7. Establish a major automobile artery on the Korean Peninsula through the construction of the Gyeongui and Gyeongwon expressways. Construct a new 450-kilometer section of the Gyeongui Expressway between Seoul and Sinuiju and a 200-kilometer section of the Gyeongwon Expressway between Seoul and Wonsan. By constructing them with at least 4 lanes in each direction and a design speed of 140 km per hour, the current travel time of 3-4 hours will be reduced to 2-3 hours. Rest areas, gas stations, and logistics centers will be built along the expressways to secure operational revenue. Funding will be secured through a mixed structure of private investment projects, BTL-BTO, and the Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund. 8. Modernize Pyongyang's urban transportation. Expand Pyongyang Metro Line 2 and modernize the tram and trolleybus systems. Along with extending existing lines, the construction of a new urban express train line between Pyongyang and Nampo will be pursued. Seoul Metro and Hyundai Rodam of South Korea will be responsible for technical support and vehicle supply. The comprehensive modernization of road paving, traffic signals, and signage within Pyongyang will also be carried out in parallel. 9. Establish an east-west transversal network. Currently, North Korea's biggest transportation vulnerability is its east-west connectivity. The Nangnim Mountains act as a north-south barrier, resulting in a severe shortage of connecting roads between the east and west. We will construct 3 east-west main arterial roads, Wonsan-Pyongyang, Hamhung-Sinanju, and Chongjin-Samjeon-Hyesan, as 4-lane paved roads to connect the East and West Coast economic zones. 10. Establish inland container depots (ICDs) as logistics hubs. We will construct inland container depots (ICDs) at 4 key locations: Pyongyang, Wonsan, Sinuiju, and Chongjin. These will serve as complex logistics terminals integrating railways, roads, and ports, with operations managed by South Korean logistics companies such as Hyundai Glovis, CJ Logistics, and Lotte Global Logistics. The long-term strategy, 2015-2030, is to complete the Northeast Asia Logistics Hub and establish a smart transportation network. 11. Complete the high-speed rail network to link the entire Korean peninsula into a 2-hour living zone. In addition to the 2 major axes of Gyeongui and Gyeonghae, the Pyongyang-Wonsan trans-high-speed rail and the Pyongyang-Hamhung-Chongjin transverse line will be completed to connect the entire Korean peninsula within 2 hours by high-speed rail. The Rason-TSR section will be upgraded to high-speed rail to fully integrate it into the Eurasian railway network. At this point, the era of Eurasian high-speed rail will begin, with travel times of 5 hours from Seoul to Pyongyang to Beijing and 30 to 40 hours from Seoul to Pyongyang to Moscow. 12. Establish a nationwide highway network. Referencing South Korea's highway model, a highway network of over 4,000 kilometers will be constructed across North Korea. With the Gyeongui and Gyeongwon axes serving as the core, the Pyongyang-Sinuiju, Pyongyang-Wonsan, Wonsan-Chongjin-Rason, and Pyongyang-Kisong Ring roads will be completed sequentially. 13. Introduce smart transportation and logistics systems. Apply the European Train Control System (ETCS) or the Korean-style KTCS signaling system to all railways. Establish dedicated lanes for autonomous trucks on highways. By introducing a smart logistics platform, specifically blockchain-based origin tracking and AI-based route optimization, we will propel North Korea into a leading digital logistics nation. This marks the completion of the Smart National Territory vision linked to the Eunjong IT Special Zone. 14. Realize integrated design with national territory development plans. North Korea possesses its own National Territory Development Plan, known as the General Plan for National Territory Construction, but the publicly available details are extremely limited and significantly out of touch with the current state of the land. Integrating this plan with the development concepts prepared by the South Korean side is a realistic approach. There are 3 core principles of the integrated design. First, special economic zones, industrial complexes, and transportation infrastructure will be designed simultaneously. A transportation network connecting the 7 major economic hubs, Kaesong, Haeju, Nampo, Pyongyang, Wonsan, Chongjin, and Rason will be constructed first, and the remaining areas will be expanded in stages. Second is the design of inter-Korean division of labor. South Korea will be responsible for design, construction, supervision, and financing, while North Korea will be responsible for site provision, labor, and local administration. Third is the application of international standards. All new railways and roads will be constructed according to international standard specifications to enable the integration of a single infrastructure system after future unification. This outlines financing and governance measures for the development of North Korea's roads and railways. Financing adopts a hybrid public-private structure. The Korea Inter-Korean Cooperation Fund (KOECF) is responsible for the reconnection of the Gyeongui and Gyeonghae lines, emergency road paving, and technical support. Infrastructure loans from the Asian Development Bank (ADB) and the World Bank provide long-term, low-interest financing for the construction of new expressways and railway modernization. Through private investment projects (PPP, BTO, and BTL), highway tolls and freight railway fares on profitable sections will be opened to the private sector to attract Korea and global infrastructure funds. A self-sustaining financing structure will also be established in the medium term, allocating 30% of North Korea's mineral export revenue to a sovereign wealth fund for transportation infrastructure reinvestment. Construction of transportation infrastructure after denuclearization is not merely a social infrastructure (SOC) project, but the physical foundation for the economic integration of the Korean peninsula. When roads are connected, People move when people move. The economy integrates, and when the economy integrates, post-denuclearization peace is structurally maintained. Investment in transportation infrastructure is the most powerful and irreversible mechanism for opening up the North Korean economy. Next time, we will talk about North Korea's agricultural strategy. Thank you.